Friday evening plans. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Celebrate your big day with big prizes on the Home Ad Show. Call in your birthday or anniversary and get added to our daily prize wheel. Every day someone wins, but Fridays are even bigger. One lucky daily winner scores 4 tickets to see Peabo Bryson live in Mooresville on Saturday, June 14th. Doors open at 5. Show starts at 6 at 161 South Magnolia Street. It's the Golden Touch Tour, brought to you by the town of Mooresville. Don't miss your chance. Call in and win.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here Thursday at the 4 o'clock hour. If you're a 9 to 5, you got 53 minutes, 25 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell. And I appreciate so much you hanging with us here as we're giving attention to, perhaps even sparking a little bit of conversation regarding items of financial and economic importance. Now, you know, as a previous listener to Dollars and Cents, we're talking on a whole range of subjects. I mean, we talk a lot of finance and a lot of economics, and then we talk about finance as it involves football and the economics of food and all of that kind of stuff. You know, we're definitely going to get into that a little bit later on in today's show. But in doing so, we're going to be talking about companies, strategies, specific investments even. And we're going to do so sometimes positive light, maybe a negative light, depending upon where things are. We got a little bit of both today. I got a big, long laundry list of all kinds of things happening out there in the market world. But in doing so, remember, as a previous listener, that nothing that we're talking about here is intended as a specific recommendation for you, meaning that even though we're going to be talking about some things, again, in a more positive light, other things in a not so positive light, everybody's situation is unique. We strongly, strongly recommend that you reach out to your tax advisor, your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial, love to hear from you, love to chat about your particular financial situation, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. northmainfinancial.com. We have a contact page on there. Leave us an email address or a phone number. We'll get back to you. Schedule some time together. In this day and age, it may be a virtual meeting, Zoom and the like, right? Or Teams meetings. Yeah, one of those kinds of things can happen. See if there are ways in which we can help you out. Online, again, at northmainfinancial.com. You're also welcome to call us here in the studio. I can't promise you I'm going to get you on the air relative to your concern in today's show. If I don't, definitely we'll cover the subject in next week's show. Promise you on that. We want everything to be relevant and helpful to you here. And also, just in advance, if you're going to call and ask for that hot stock tip, I'm not your guy. As a matter of fact, if someone like me, or especially me, gives you a hot stock tip, it's pretty safe to go exactly the opposite direction, and you're probably going to have a little bit better chance of success. But calling us here in the studio, 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464, 844-788-3464. One more time, 844-788-3464 here in the studio. Well, again, folks, thank you so much for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I told you I got a lot on the plate here today. We're going to get into it, too, including, we're going to save this for the football segment, that other word that begins with F that we like to talk about here on Dollars and Cents. But I just saw some breaking news as we were coming on online here. But first, let's get into some quarterly earnings reports. Talking companies, and again, with all these companies, I'm going to say it for each one too, but just to make sure there's no confusion, concern about what we're talking about here, I'm going to be talking about these companies. They're publicly traded, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the equity or the debt of any of these companies. I'm going to start with one that it's a little bit counterintuitive when you think about it. And I'm going to say that relative to the announcement that they made, and I'm sure you're going to be able to figure it out as I'm describing it there. It's a little bit counterintuitive in that usually the stock price does a little bit better on announcements like this. So I'm looking at Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, the huge consumer products company based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, been there for a long time, over 100 years that they've been there. Ticker symbol Paul Gary, PG, not a recommendation, again, to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity. They're cutting 7,000 jobs, and they appear to be more of the white collar than the blue collar jobs, meaning these are office jobs and not necessarily factory floor jobs. Say that 3 times fast that they're cutting here. And so never a good thing whenever we hear about companies that are cutting jobs. But it looks like they're going to be cutting about 7,000 jobs, which is about 15% of their non-factory floor workforce. So a pretty notable cut. They're also going to be trimming their portfolio. And when I say trimming their portfolio, Procter & Gamble, if you're not familiar with them as a publicly traded company, I will bet that some of these labels that Procter & Gamble owns are familiar to you. I'm just going to run down a couple of them here. They have literally have dozens of names. I'm looking at Tide detergent, Gillette razors, Pampers for our little ones, Oral-B when it comes to teeth-related kinds of things, Febreze that makes all our stuff that doesn't smell so good smell a lot better, Vicks whenever you got a stuffy nose or a head. I feel like I'm on a commercial for Procter & Gamble here. Anyhow, that's just some of the labels that they have there. They're going to be trimming up some of those, trying to get more profitable. That's also the reason that they're trimming up their workforce as well. And again, as I mentioned, even though it might seem a little bit counterintuitive, the market tends to like that from a stock perspective because what they see is greater efficiency, they see lower overhead, and they see the greater possibility to increase those margins. So that's what you have from Procter & Gamble. I thought that was kind of interesting. Procter & Gamble, I would call them relatively boring as a company, and it's not because they're a bad company. I'm not saying that at all, but I'd call them relatively boring. They're a very old, established company in consumer products where the margins don't tend to be very, very large. And certainly in some of those things that I mentioned there, some of those consumer products, the margins are very small. And they're looking to reduce some of their exposure and some of those lower margin kinds of things. That could mean selling them off, spinning them off, all kinds of possibilities, maybe just stopping them altogether if they don't feel like there's enough sales in order to justify continuing some of those lines. So it's going to be interesting to see. Always interesting when companies go through a restructuring like what they're talking about here. So again, Procter & Gamble looking to cut back on the workforce and also looking to trim up the portfolio as well. All right, let's keep going here. This is a big one locally for the obvious reasons. When I say locally, talking about their presence here in Charlotte, which came about as a result of the 2008-2009 financial crisis. I'm looking at Wells Fargo, the bank, the big bank, based formally on the West Coast. San Francisco is where they started out there in California, but a huge presence, huge presence here in the Charlotte region, primarily because of their acquisition of the old Wachovia Corporation, the old Wachovia Bank, which happened back there in 2008 and 2009. Now, Wells Fargo, even after 2008, 2009, had some challenges. They did. I mean, any objective measure had some challenges with regards to opening of accounts for clients and got really, I'll call it smacked. I don't think that's being superlative at all. They really got smacked by the Department of Banking, so banking regulators, and the Federal Reserve, to the extent that they really imposed a fairly significant restriction on Wells Fargo, beginning back in 2018. So this has been 7 years ago that they did this. And they did what's called place an asset cap on Wells Fargo. Now, I'm not going to get granular on the structure of an asset cap. Basically, what that means is they couldn't increase their deposits. They couldn't increase their loans very much. They couldn't increase basically lines of business. And they even had to cut back on some of the things that they offered until they cleaned up the rest of the mess that they had internally as a company. And so that's what they've been doing here over the last several years. Been tough. Boy, whether you're an employee there or you own the stock or both. By the way, ticker symbol Walter Frank Cherry, WFC, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity. But the Federal Reserve has obviously seen a space where they feel like that the Federal Reserve is now getting a little bit more back online. Wells Fargo is getting a little bit more back online. And so they can now increase their balance sheet, deposits, loans. It's going to increase the business possibilities for Wells Fargo. Again, not a recommendation to buy the stock or not, but still for Wells Fargo as a corporation to have that restriction lifted as far as that asset cap is concerned, huge deal. And I think a positive thing. I think that's good for the company as well, to be able to keep going in a way that it encourages growth. Let me say it that way. And we're hoping for good things when it comes to those folks there. All right, folks, I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. We're going to take a breather and hear from our sponsors coming back on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, that soggy start to Thursday really sort of set the tone for the rest of the day. Slowly clearing, though, as we go through the rest of the evening. And overnight, temperatures fall down into the mid-60s as we become partly cloudy. Our Friday Well, summer returns again, hot and humid. We're back up to 90 for Friday afternoon, and we're entering pop-up storm season again. A couple of pop-up storms possible, but they're hit or miss, so go ahead with your Friday evening plans. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. The 500 Club in Statesville presents their member tournament this Sunday. Visit the 500 Club online for more information. Golfing, food, beverages, and fun are all at the 500 Club this weekend. The Dock and Rock Music Festival returns this Saturday at Waterside Bar and Grill in Catawba. The music begins at 4 p.m. with performances by Ryan Joyce, Chasing Phoenix, the Presley Layton Band, and Danny Carr and the Skeleton Crew. Tickets are only $10 in advance and still a bargain at $20 at the door. Search Dock and Rock at ticketleap.events. Dock and Rock is hosted by Ryan Joyce, Waterside Bar and Grill, and is powered by Waves Entertainment. We will see you on Saturday at Waterside Bar and Grill in Catawba for the Dock and Rock Music Festival. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race number 1 on Monday, June 9th, and race number 2 on Tuesday, June 10th. Watch racing's future stars battle in Legends cars and bandoleros on the front stretch quarter mile. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for ticket information or head to Gate 4 at the Speedway for their weekly promotion. It's time to celebrate you on the Home Ad Show. Call in and tell us your birthday or anniversary, and we'll add your name to the daily prize wheel. Each day, someone wins a fun prize, but on Fridays, one lucky winner will be drawn for a very special prize, 4 tickets to the legendary Peebo Bryson concert. He is bringing his Golden Touch Tour to Mooresville on Saturday, June 14th. Doors open at 5 p.m. Show starts at 6 p.m. at 161 South Magnolia Street. Call in and get your name on the wheel. This incredible night of soulful music was brought to you by the town of Mooresville. Don't miss your chance to see Peebo Bryson. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
What if your brain isn't broken? Join Dr. Tim Royer for a free workshop on June 12th, live at Verdict Ridge Country Club, or online June 17th to learn how brainwave training can restore focus and energy. RSVP at reclaimyourbrain.today and get a free book.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, football reference. Got to bring out, this big, now listening to Dollars and Cents, we do some anecdotal things on here, and let's call it what it is. I do the anecdotal things in part because if I was reading you quarterly earnings reports and let's say Federal Reserve Board meeting minutes for 58 minutes straight, you might... I get it. I think I would too. So we got to spice it up a little bit. Second quarter, because that's the first reference that we make to the football season. Producer Reese always bringing up on my screen here as I do that. He knows where I'm going with this. Just in case you're wondering, the kickoff clock, the countdown to September 4th, which is when the NFL season starts. You have 90 days, 7 hours, 40 minutes, 56 seconds until the kickoff. So it's less than 3 months now. Believe it or not, we're going to get a couple of hot days. We're going to be in training camp here, and also for the record, it continues to be true this week, as we mention every week. Our Carolina Panthers continue at this time to be in the exact same space from a probability standpoint when it comes to wins and losses, exactly the same space as every other team in the NFL to win the Super Bowl.
We're keeping the hope alive.
We are. We're not getting off this bus. We are here for the long haul.
Yeah, we're less than 3 months away. So
less than 3 months.
Switching chips now.
No. We're not giving up. We've come this far. We're going to keep on going. Also, big NFL news. Producer Reese, I don't even know if you had a chance to see this yet. I literally just saw breaking news as I was coming into to the studio here. Aaron Rodgers. So there was all this discussion about whether he was going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers or not, because he was cut loose from the Jets. That didn't work out after a Hall of Fame career at Green Bay, or the part of his career at Green Bay, I should say, because he's still playing. Apparently, they've come to terms So Aaron Rodgers is
Really?
going to be a Pittsburgh
I did
Steeler.
not see that.
I just saw it walk. I saw it on the internet, so it absolutely has to be true. So no, that's not. I saw it from the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. I mean, the Pittsburgh newspaper, and they would be. I think they'd be pretty careful about that. I don't think they put it out there unless it was real.
How old is he?
Gosh, you know what? That's a great question.
Because I thought he'd be close to retiring.
In football years, he's got to be about 175 years old. I'm not kidding, and that's not hyperbole. In football years, no, he's got to be in his 40s, right? I mean, he played a long time in Green Bay.
Do football players even make it to 40?
Not many. Boy, not many of them. I mean, quarterbacks, kickers, I think there's some possibilities because they don't have necessarily, and I'm not saying quarterbacks and kickers are bad or not football players. I'm just saying the amount of impact that some of them receive, not the same as others. I mean, you talk about like an offensive or defensive lineman literally going full speed into a car wreck every single play. The quarterbacks and kickers punters don't have that same kind of high impact speed every single play.
I was talking about this with my dad, and he was saying something. Like if you're a running back,
right,
your days are numbered from the first time you step on the field.
There's a significant amount of data out there that says exactly that, even to the extent that, and I saw one white paper here not too long ago, it was from a medical journal, I think, that talked about running backs specifically and what their average tenure is, even with regards to the average tenure of an NFL football player. It's like half of the average of what an average football player.
The players that are getting tackled more.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The players are bigger. I mean, the players are faster. The athleticism. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, you don't have to believe me. Just compare it to what it was, say, in even the 70s and 80s. Okay, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, the players are 50, 60 pounds, heavier, but they're faster. They're quicker. They have more athleticism.
I feel like it's the same way in every sport.
That's a fair point. You know what? It's not just football. That is a very fair point. You look at it across the board. I mean, a lot of guys. I mean, I remember this. This was kind of an issue, especially back in the 70s, and maybe it's true in part today, but it doesn't seem to be as much. A lot of players, especially football players, they went to camp to get in shape, meaning they didn't often show up. Not everybody showed up in shape coming into camp. So
not in the past.
No,
they did not.
Now, if you don't come in at A+, 100% ready to,
you're off the team.
I mean, they'll probably void your contract. I mean, it's such an interesting kind of dynamic when you're looking at it. I mean, and I'm saying this about the NFL. Let's talk big time college football as well. I mean, my gosh, with the billions of dollars in Division I college football, especially here in SEC country. I mean, it's basically, I mean, it's professional light. I mean,
even back in the 2000s.
Yeah, not even that long ago.
Late as that.
Yeah,
players were not going into training camp in shape.
Completely agree with that. It is amazing. Just the let's call it the evolution, or certainly let's call it the continued progression of how the professional sports overall and big time sports overall has moved, and of course just the unbelievable number of dollars involved. I mean, it's billions with a B. I mean, I'm not even getting into. I hesitate even to call the whole college payment experience to athletes now NIL, because I don't even see that names, image, and likeness are being used. Basically, just paying players.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I know there are a couple of pending cases out there that still need to be decided relative to how that process works. But basically, it's you're paying for players, and if you can't ante up for a player who feels that he or she is worth something, they're going to the portal and they're going to go find somebody who can. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting dynamic. It's as with all those kinds of things where the dynamics are changing. My mind often wants, what's it going to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and how's that all going to go together? I think the very least that's true is I don't think we're going back to the way it was. I don't think we're going back to where the prize, if you will, was a full ride scholarship.
Yeah, I don't think people. I think people are expecting more.
I think you're right,
and it's just going to keep going up from here.
Yeah. It's hard to argue the fact. I mean, I don't want to take necessarily a position on the radio here, but it's hard to argue the fact when you look at, again, especially big time. I'm going to use college football because that's where the majority of the money is. That's when we're talking college, big time college athletics. Not taking anything away from baseball, basketball, lacrosse, all of them. But when you're looking at money, specifically the television contracts, and they are billions with a B. I mean, it's hard to argue against not paying the players. I understand the idea of college athletics. I understand the idea of the amateur, but we're a long ways away from that. I mean, We are in a space where it is a huge, huge business. Coaches being paid, tens of millions of dollars, not even millions of dollars, but tens of millions of dollars in those spaces. Colleges and universities making tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in these kinds of enterprises. How can you not pay the players in that kind of instance? I mean, if everybody was working, let's say, and I'm being serious, I'm not being funny about this, but if everybody was working at, say, public school teacher kind of income, okay, then I would agree. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about exponential dollars here. So again, and I know there's strong opinions on both sides. Not meaning to take a position. Just I guess it was partially a position though. Talking about it's just a tremendous amount of money. Now talk about Rodgers going to the Steelers. I'm sure he's not going there cheap. I mean, I have no idea what kind of contract or if they talk numbers yet. I'm sure they did at least conceptually talk numbers, but I'm sure he's not going there cheap. So no matter how old he is, he's going to be making a lot of money this year.
Not a player who performs at the level he does.
Right, and I think that's kind of what's desired. But again, to your point, the wear and tear, the number of years in the league, I mean, how much money is that worth? I mean, that's hard.
Is that justice for your amount per year going down?
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm glad I don't need to make those decisions. I'm glad I'm not the general manager or the owner that has to make those kinds of decisions because that's brutal. I mean, there's you commit to the cost up front, and you have no idea how things are going to work out. And I understand there's the differences. There's parts of the money are guaranteed, parts are non-guaranteed, especially when it comes to the NFL. But that's I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it's we really got to talk about. We like talking about football here, but we also got to talk about it from the dollar standpoint. I mean, every time we crank on those televisions, folks, or what am I saying? Crank on those televisions. I'm acting like there's a crank in the back of it anymore. But seriously, on our phones, on our tablets, on all of our streaming devices, I mean, all of that feeds right into how they price advertising. That advertising is what they charge to the networks, the networks charge to the advertisers, I mean, it is a bonanza of a business, and hard to argue that there is a brand that commands a higher premium in the NFL. Pretty unbelievable. All right, let's keep going. By the way, before we leave sports, we're going to come back to sports probably, but Stanley Cup playoffs started. We were talking about that, the break, producer Reese. I don't know about you. You don't even have to be a hockey fan. If you watch some of those Stanley Cup finals, I mean, between Edmonton and Florida, it is amazing that a human being can be on two pieces of relatively thin metal and move that fast on a slippery surface.
And not fall.
And it's not just frontwards. They're going backwards, sideways, and there's no effect. I mean, it's unbelievable the speed at which they change directions.
Half the time they're in midair.
It is. I mean, and then, oh, by the way, here's a piece of wood and a frozen piece of rubber that you're supposed to move up and down at, breakneck speed up and down the rink.
Hit it as hard as you possibly can.
And then what about the goalie? I mean, seriously, what about the goalie? I mean, how do you see anything? He's already got the cage over his face, that frozen piece of rubber. He's got 6 people in front of him. It's coming right for his skull. Don't ask me. I'm not that guy.
I like hockey. I play hockey, but a goalie, I'd be scared.
I mean, absolutely. I don't care how much padding I have on.
I mean, because you got padding everywhere.
Right.
But you also, it can hit you right here in the neck, too.
Absolutely. For me, it would find the exposed piece of my skin. There's no doubt about it. It would, and I would drop like I was shot. That would be the end of it. It's anyhow, pretty amazing stuff. Amazing to watch these athletes in action. They're big money in hockey too. I mean, I'm not taking away from the NHL in any kind of way, but big money in hockey, but big money all the way around when it comes to big time athletics. So it's gonna be interesting to see, especially as we're getting started into. We're still in baseball season. What am I talking about? Still in. We're just barely getting warmed up. We're not even to the dog days of summer yet when it's coming to baseball. And again, you talk numbers. It's amazing, and baseball, I think, is one of the most specific examples of this, that money buys talent and talent buys championships. It really is true. When you look at it in terms of the Yankees and the Dodgers, I mean, just the Mets now have finally started to come around. It is pretty unbelievable when you're looking at how these guys perform. It'll be interesting to see. Always fun to watch, at least if you're a sports person. We hope you are. Anyhow, thank you so much for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents. We're going to take a little break here, halftime. Going to come back here in just a moment on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, that soggy start to Thursday really sort of set the tone for the rest of the day. Slowly clearing, though, as we go through the rest of the evening, and overnight temperatures fall down into the mid-60s as we become partly cloudy. Our Friday, well, summer returns again. Hot and humid. We're back up to 90 for Friday afternoon, and we're entering pop-up storm season again. A couple of pop-up storms possible, but they're hit or miss, so go ahead with your Friday evening plans. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Hey folks, you know Randy Marion is the king of price when it comes to buying a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, but how about king of price when it comes to the service department? Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville has you covered on tires, brakes, batteries, wipers, you name it. Any service you need on your vehicle, regardless of the make or model, come see Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville Service Department or Randy Marion Ford Lincoln Service Department today.
Is your AC ready for summer? Don't wait for a breakdown on the hottest day of the year. Call Horn Heating and Air Conditioning for a seasonal tune-up today. Welcome home to the feeling of Visit hornhvac.com.
Yeehaw for rodeo season at Harrison's, the home of work, western, and wow. Whether you compete or cheer from the stands, Harrison has the looks to help you wow the crowd. Get western classics and the latest styles from Harriet, Cinch, Rock and Roll Denim, and Wrangler. Find us in Mooresville.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Opening doors to your future. Literally. Buying, selling, or building your portfolio? Put the team at Centralina Realty to work for you. We're in the center of North Carolina and at the center of your journey. CentralinaRealty.com.
If you need home medical equipment, call Lowry Drug in Statesville. We have everything you need in stock, including portable oxygen concentrators, CPAPs, masks, lift chairs, wheelchairs, scooters, hospital beds, supplies, and anything else you need. Get it when you need it. Check out LowryDrug.com or call 704-873-2247. Lowry Drug, your hometown source since 1959, across from Iredell Memorial Hospital. We are worth the drive. Come see us.
Are you sick of running out of hot water? Whether it's in the middle of a shower or doing dishes, cold water's never fun. Say goodbye to those surprises with a Rinnai tankless water heater from GMV Energy. This energy-efficient propane-powered solution heats water instantly, so you'll never run out again. Plus, it saves money and frees up space. Propane models start at just $295 after rebates. Visit any G&V Energy location or gbenergy.com to learn more.
It ain't easy being number one, but we make it look good.
WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Tesla shares are tumbling today after Elon Musk and President Trump publicly aired their differences over Trump's tax policy bill. Trump says he's disappointed by Musk's criticism of the bill that Musk calls an abomination, while Musk today said Trump is showing such ingratitude for all the help he's provided to the administration. Disney is bringing more than just magic to Florida and California, where it has theme parks. Disney also is bringing dollars into the economy. That's according to a commissioned study prepared by economists at Tourism Economics. Disney is sharing that its resorts generated nearly $67 billion in annual economic impact. Those doing the study for Disney say that $67 billion is nearly as much as Americans spent on Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and Halloween combined last year. Heading toward the close, stocks are down between 0.4% and 1.1%. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
No radio? No worries.
Just ask Alexa to play WSIC.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show, another football reference. I appreciate so much you hanging with us. We got a little bit anecdotal in the second quarter there. Another football reference. Talking about the NFL. Yes, I mean, the news, the countdown. I mean, Aaron Rodgers possibly going to the Steelers. Looks like that's going to be official now. But really, talked a lot about money and the money that's involved, not only in big-time professional sports, but big-time Division I college athletics now as well. It's going to be kind of interesting to see this whole, again, I hesitate to call it the NIL end of things because it's really just paying players. I mean, it's really a revenue share, if you will, for a lot of these colleges and universities now in order to be able to attract players. With the portal, it's amazing the number of transfers, and it's not just Alabama and Auburn that are transferring players. I mean, it's all the way through the system. It's amazing. Even some of our local colleges here are experiencing it as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. A lot of money involved. We're certainly going to be talking more about it here on Dollars and Cents in future episodes. But let's keep going. I'm going to talk a little more company business here. Looking at Kimberly Clark. We had Procter & Gamble at the front end of the first segment. Kimberly Clark. We're going to touch on a couple of the largest consumer products manufacturers out there. Very interesting. Kimberly Clark, ticker symbol Kelly Mary Bob, KMB. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. You may not be familiar with Kimberly Clark. It may not be a name that's familiar to you. But again, with what I'm going to say next, you definitely are going to be familiar with this brand, Kleenex. So they made a sale, Kimberly Clark, which owns the brand Kleenex and manufactures and sells Kleenex. They sold the Kleenex and tissue business that they have there at Kimberly Clark, but only those parts of it which are outside of North America. So as I'm working my way through this news release, okay, it really doesn't affect anything they're doing inside of North America and inside here in the States, certainly. But outside of it, they sold it to a group out of Brazil called Suzano. And it was really more of a joint venture. So Suzano's got 51% of the non-North American business. Kimberly Clark still keeps 49%, but Suzano has that option on the final 49, meaning that they have the option at some future date. I'm guessing after they've danced for a little bit to see if they want to get married. You like those metaphors? That's pretty much what it is. It's a joint venture to see if it goes along all right, and if it does, well, then they'll do something a little bit more permanent. So that's probably what's going to be happening there. Kimberly Clark wanting to, kind of like Procter & Gamble, wanting to focus on higher profit areas of their business. Apparently, the Kleenex business outside of the U.S. Is not as robust, and they wanted to divest of that, and Suzano picking it up and probably going to find a way to make it more of a profitable business. But Kimberly Clark in the news there today, $3 billion sale of the Kleenex brand. All right, let's keep going. And now we like to talk about food around here. We're going to be talking about food and kind of like it says at the interlude, steak as well. I got to find more steak stories. I mean, how many times can you talk about ribeyes and New York strips? I could talk about it at every single show, probably for all 4 quarters of the show.
I could talk about steak.
I mean, I really could. I mean, because for folks who eat meat, and for folks who eat red meat, and for folks who like steak, which I want to be very aware of all kinds of preferences. But it's interesting how passionate they get at times about the cuts that they like, how they like it prepared. I mean, we got some pretty strong feelings. Of course, we touch on that when it comes to food. We've talked pizza. I mean, people are pretty passionate about pizza. That's an alliteration, not intended there. And also ice cream. I mean, people are pretty passionate about ice cream. Cereal, people get pretty passionate about. Some favorites there as well. Anyhow, I'm going to talk about another one about which folks are pretty passionate here. Talking chocolate. Now, if you are a chocolate lover, meaning one who really enjoys chocolate, let's say you indulge in chocolate, and I'm not going to get into the whole vanilla chocolate and milk chocolate, dark chocolate. I'm not going to talk about that here today. Just some interesting data I came across. And so I'm not looking at specific brands of chocolate, but I'm looking actually at an economic phenomenon that definitely is impacting the chocolate world, and that is that chocolate prices overall here in the U.S. Are up 30% in the last 4 years. That's a big jump. And when you're talking, 30% in 4 years, average, linear growth of 7.5% a year. That's a huge amount of increase in the cost of chocolate, most notably because of the increase in the rise of cocoa. So cocoa, the primary ingredient in chocolate, has risen dramatically. Very interesting, this next point. So I was aware of the increase in the price of cocoa and aware then subsequently of the increase in prices of chocolate and chocolate confections that you buy in the store. This is what I found very interesting. This more, I wouldn't even say anecdotal point, just kind of interesting. European folks who consider chocolate to be much more a part of their regular daily intake are not as price sensitive to chocolate as we are here in the U.S. because we in the U.S. see it as an indulgence or almost an after. I mean, some of us do. Some of us really like chocolate. We eat it all the time. But for the masses, for the majority of the market here in the U.S., they consider it to be sometimes I can take it or leave it, or I just have one piece. Very interesting. In Europe, they absolutely consider it to be part of like their daily food routine. And there was something
That's interesting
that immediately perked my ears at that and said, maybe I should spend some more time in Europe. Because if that's really the case, I mean, between wine and chocolate, meaning basically wine, beer, and chocolate, basically being just institutions of every single day, I could do that. I mean, that's something.
I could too.
I don't think that that's something where I would not fit in. I think I could absolutely do that. But I thought it interesting. So in light of these price increases, Europeans are not slowing down their purchases of chocolate. We here in the U.S. have slowed down a little bit because of the price increases. Very interesting. Consumer behavior, we talk about it all the time here on Dollars and Cents. Primary reason for it, you hear me say this all the time as well, but you got to keep this in mind. Consumer here in the U.S., 2/3, 3/4 of our overall economy, meaning we spend. We are spenders. We are consumers here in the U.S. That is what drives our economy. And so when the consumer changes behavior, you've heard us talk about this with regards to grocery stores. You've heard us talk about this with regards to the gas station, travel. You've heard us talk about it from all kinds of different angles here on Dollars and Cents. We're going to keep doing it because as the consumer moves, so do we move as an economy. And if the consumer is pulling back, which we're starting to see more evidence of that. I'm not going to call it a trend. We're not there yet. But definitely there are instances. Here's another data point in the algorithm saying that the consumer is slowing down their spending or at least changing behavior. So does that mean, which is one of the questions that I had that I didn't find in this particular article, does that mean that they're still consuming sweets, but maybe not something as expensive as chocolate, so maybe some kind of other sugar confection? Don't know. Didn't have that in the article here. Still thought it was interesting, though, and really what caught my eye is that Europeans are very intentional. I don't know. And I've had Swiss chocolate. I've had Belgian chocolate. I agree. It's amazing.
What's your favorite kind of chocolate?
You know, that's a great question, Producer Reese. And just like all foods, I really don't have a preference. My favorite chocolate, the one sitting in front of me. Absolutely. Availability. That's what I don't have one right now. Oh, if I did, I wouldn't be talking.
Now you go.
No, I would sound like Elmer Fudd.
Do you have like a favorite chocolate like brand?
It's a great question. So you've heard me say, and it is true, Reese's. So I love the peanut butter chocolate combination. I know you're a high five over there. I love the Reese's combination because of the chocolate and peanut butter. I love white chocolate. I love milk chocolate. I love dark chocolate. I do not. I have zero preference in any ways. As long as it's in front of me, I will enjoy it.
I'm kind of iffy about dark chocolate.
Okay, it's
like
a little bitter.
It's
right?
an every now and then kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little bitter. And you know, it's kind of interesting that you say that because even with knowing how Hershey's here in the U.S., by the way, Hershey's publicly traded company, Henry Sam Yellow, HSY, not a recommendation to buy or sell or hold the equity or the debt of Hershey's. I think they have found from a volume standpoint that what you're saying is accurate. Yeah. We are not as dark chocolate, slightly bitter driven as we are definitely milk chocolate.
But it is healthier though.
That's what I've been told, which is why, of course, I consume chocolate because it's kind of like when there was some medical report out from the American Medical Association, and I'm not quoting this directly, so I don't want to get any calls from the AMA on this, but there was a report a number of years ago that said that drinking wine was good for the heart. Now, if you read a little bit deeper on that, it did not say that drinking unlimited amounts of wine is good for the heart. I think it said something along the lines of having a half a glass or something a day is not detrimental to the heart. But of course, I twisted that into whatever I wanted to hear because I really like red wine and said, well, that means that drinking more wine is better. I mean, wine's red, my heart's red, right? Blood's red. So I mean,
it goes together.
It has to all, I mean, do you hear how convoluted that is? Twisted. That folks would think that way. But of course, if it's just going to substantiate something that I already believe, why not absolutely just find evidence to support what I already believe? That's pretty dangerous. Don't do anything like that. But kind of interesting when we're looking at all things food related. We like to do that here on Dollars and Cents. Man, we're racing through the hour. We're going to get to fourth quarter here in a couple of seconds. Hang with us as we hear from our sponsors. Appreciate so much hanging with us on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. here on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, that soggy start to Thursday really sort of set the tone for the rest of the day. Slowly clearing, though, as we go through the rest of the evening. And overnight, temperatures fall down into the mid-60s as we become partly cloudy. Our Friday, well, summer returns again. Hot and humid. We're back up to 90 for Friday afternoon, and we're entering pop-up storm season again. A couple of pop-up storms possible, but they're hit or miss, so go ahead with your Friday evening plans. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. The 500 Club in Statesville presents their member tournament this Sunday. Visit the 500 Club online for more information. Golfing, food, beverages, and fun are all at the 500 Club this weekend. The Dock and Rock Music Festival returns this Saturday at Waterside Bar and Grill in Catawba. The music begins at 4 p.m. with performances by Ryan Joyce, Chasing Phoenix, the Presley Layton Band, and Danny Carr and the Skeleton Crew. Tickets are only $10 in advance and still a bargain at $20 at the door. Search Dock and Rock at ticketleap.events. Dock and Rock is hosted by Ryan Joyce, Waterside Bar and Grill, and is powered by Waves Entertainment. We will see you on Saturday at Waterside Bar and Grill in Catawba for the Dock and Rock Music Festival. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race number 1 on Monday, June 9th, and race number 2 on Tuesday, June 10th. Watch racing's future stars battle in Legends cars and Bandoleros on the front stretch quarter mile. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for ticket information or head to Gate 4 at the Speedway for their weekly promotion. It's time to celebrate you on the Home Ad Show. Call in and tell us your birthday or anniversary, and we'll add your name to the daily prize wheel. Each day, someone wins a fun prize, but on Fridays, one lucky winner will be drawn for a very special prize: 4 tickets to the legendary Peebo Bryson concert. He is bringing his Golden Touch Tour to Mooresville on Saturday, June 14th. Doors open at 5 p.m. Show starts at 6 p.m. at 161 South Magnolia Street. Call in and get your name on the wheel. This incredible night of soulful music is brought to you by the town of Mooresville. Don't miss your chance to see Peebo Bryson. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Don't miss the boat. Don't miss the boat, baby. Shop LKN Local for the best lake apparel, home decor, and gift ideas. Locally loved, made, and delivered right to your door. For the love of the lake, shop lkn-local.com today.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much. You made it to the fourth quarter. Congratulations if you're a 9-to-5er. 11 minutes, 40 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell. I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here. So we're talking on all things economic and financial. And yes, I do find a way to talk about finances if we're talking about football and food. I do. Now, this next one, I don't have anything particular financial about it. Producer Reese, I didn't even tee you up on this either. But I got to bring this in because this was eye-opening in, I will say, a couple of different ways for me. When I came upon this news article on spam. Now, are you familiar with spam?
Yes.
Literally the meat in a can.
I've never had it.
You're missing out, Producer Reese, because it was basically a staple of my growing up.
Okay.
I mean, it was meat in a can, a little bit of gelatinous covering on it as well. You crack that thing open.
I know what it is, but I've never had it.
And there are some folks, again, we talk about people being passionate about certain foods. There are certain folks who are very, very passionate about how much they enjoy spam. And there are other folks whose I don't even want to, probably I'm making them sick talking about it on the air right now.
I know some people who eat spam by itself.
Oh, I know it. I know it. And actually, based upon a little bit of data survey that I have here, you may be one who wants to try spam if you have not had it before. First of all, first data point on the food end of things that just blew me away. There are, except for the varieties that they have during holidays and special occasions, so I guess they do some short run kinds of things. There are 13 permanent flavors of spam. I was amazed at that. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm not always looking for spam in the grocery store. I was 13 different kinds.
All I've seen is the original.
Fair point.
That's all I've seen.
You know what? And some of these are regionally specific and even country specific. So I wonder if they may not be distributed as much even here in the U.S. But Hormel owns Spam, by the way. Hormel, big food group company, publicly traded company, ticker symbol Henry Roger Larry, HRL, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the debt of the Hormel company. And I mean, at Hormel, they make pepperoni too. They produce pepperoni. I love the Hormel pepperoni as well. Anyhow, talking Spam here. 13 flavors. And the folks over at Food and Wine say, yeah, see it, talking too fast, you start stumbling over yourself. At Food and Wine did a very non-scientific survey of their favorites. Now, I'm just going to read them. Now, I'm not so much concerned about what they thought was their favorite. I just found the flavors just amazing, frankly. I'm going to start out now. The worst one, the one they didn't like the most, was Tocino flavor. Now, Tocino flavor, if you're not familiar, is a Filipino is a flavor from the Philippines. Very, very common, very, very well liked over there. That was the one they didn't like the most. They said it just didn't have enough spice or enough kick to it. Then the next one, so I'm going worst to best here. 13 of them. I know, I'll move quickly. Maple, interesting. Hickory smoke, okay, I can kind of see that. Low salt, I didn't even think you could make Spam with low salt. So low salt as an option. Teriyaki, I thought that was kind of interesting. I could kind of see that. Gochujang, which is actually Korean, so a Korean flavor, very interesting. Bacon, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know why that wasn't number one. I mean, it just bacon anything. I mean, bacon Spam, bacon on an old tire. It doesn't matter. So anyhow, but that was there at number 6. Turkey, so interesting. Okay. So they switch up the meat base, go with turkey. Korean barbecue, so 2 entries that are more Korean, but Korean barbecue, very interesting flavor there. Jalapeno, I could go for that. I like spicy things. Thought that was very interesting.
I don't like spicy.
So I know you don't. No. So that's okay. I'll take your portion. Whatever we get it here. And then the top 3, so from 3, 2, 1, the first one is the one that you see, the classic, right? Okay. The classic, the navy blue can, the pink meat flavor kind of thing. And then the second one, interesting, because we already had low salt, but the second one, the light flavor, so a low fat option. Again, didn't think you could make Spam as a low fat option, but apparently
I wouldn't think so.
I didn't. Then it's not Spam as far as I'm concerned. And then the number 1, according to Food and Wine, again, it's a very unscientific poll here, is they're hot and spicy, which, as I read a little bit further, basically has a Tabasco-style flavor with it. I thought that was very interesting. Yeah, so Tabasco and Spam, I can see. I can
or in this region.
Correct.
I can see that.
Especially here in the Southeast, right? We got a lot of hot sauce around here. I thought that was very interesting. So hot and spicy. Again, I've never seen it before. I'm sure it's out there. Now I'm going to be looking for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I mean, if there are 13 different cans out there, I'm definitely going to be looking for other options
Get
when it comes to Spam. Why not?
Try it
Can you imagine
on
that?
The show?
I would love that. Would that be amazing? Is there anything financial we could twist into that? I mean, I suppose we could talk about Hormel.
You probably could.
I mean, sure. We could talk about Hormel. They're a publicly traded company. They own Spam, right? We could just do a deep dive, just kind of just a very intensive company review sort of thing.
Or just do fun facts in between each.
I will do that.
Each try.
I would absolutely love to do that. I know. Hormel, feel free to give me a call, 844-STUDIO-4 here in the studio. More than happy. Actually, if you will become a sponsor of Dollars and Cents, I'm just throwing this out there in case anybody.
There you go.
If you'd like to become a sponsor, I'm willing to do it in trade. I will. You get airtime on here in exchange for cans of the 13 different kinds of Spam. I'm in for it. I'm ready to go. Anyhow. All right, let's keep going here. All these guys talk about his food. Yes, I'm hungry. That's probably one of the reasons why I'm talking more about food here. Let's come into the markets. Really want to talk about where the markets have been here, and getting a lot of questions as I've got to bring up another company. Producer Reese had brought it up, but also had previous conversations today about a lot of the noise that's coming out of the Oval Office right now. There's not a political statement one way or the other. It just is. It's a lot of noise. And specifically with Tesla stock. So a lot of conversations about Tesla stock here recently. Even as the time I came on the air, the stock was down about 15%, 15%. By the way, Tesla stock, Tom, Sam, Larry, Alpha, TSLA, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the equity or the debt of the company. Just having a challenging time right now. And this is not unique in that when companies have CEOs or founders who are just very, let's say, effervescent personalities. Is that fair? Is that semi-politically correct to say that? Just very, very dominant presences that sometimes the company gets wrapped up in the personality of the CEO or founder. It does happen. Not all the time. There are other instances as well, not just Elon Musk and Tesla, but I'm looking at, again, very different personality, but I'm looking at someone like Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, or I'm looking at something like Bill Gates and Microsoft, or Steve Jobs and Apple. I mean, there are a number of ones that are out there where that personality in so many ways got wrapped up into the company, and the company got wrapped up into that personality. Musk is definitely one of those ones that's out there, though, from a personality standpoint, that he's just very, very candid, and not as many CEOs are so candid. And so now there's been some noise of some falling out between Musk and the president and all that goes on. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of that. Just wanted to mention it. It's probably one of the reasons why Tesla stock has sold off in the ways that it has here. Does that mean that Tesla's a bad company? Does that affect sales? I doubt it. We haven't seen that. I know there was a lot of noise in the media about how badly Tesla sales were going to be hurt here over the last several months. They've cooled a little bit, but if you look at them relative to historic numbers, they're not that far out the window. So that just hasn't materially happened. There's nothing mathematically that indicates that right now. So, but still kind of interesting when you're looking at it out there. Definitely something to keep in mind. Along those same lines, and this is actually very, very interesting when you're talking about the car business, got to bring up Ford. Ford, I mean, has one of those single-letter ticker symbols. Not too many of them out there. Ford, F as in Frank. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity when it comes to Ford. Miserable quarter. Oof. I mean, just terrible. And I got to say, the car manufacturers have been in a challenging space for a long time, especially here in the U.S. Been in a miserable space for a long time. Miserable quarter, several things which are anchoring them from just trying to get profitable. Biggest one right now, and this was a little deeper in the report. This wasn't something that was out there out front. It has to do with their EVs, the electrical vehicles. Just a huge financial anchor right now. Lost between $800 million and $1 billion this last quarter in expense, meaning that expenses over revenues last year. So huge weight on the company. And, I think a lot of companies right now, so this is not me just pointing at Ford and saying, that they're in a terrible space right now, but I think a lot of companies, especially domestic car manufacturers here in the U.S., Tesla aside for just a moment, are really struggling for what EV production is going to look like going forward, because it is challenging. They're expensive. There aren't as many charging stations. They have challenges with cold weather when it comes to the amount of charge retained in the battery. I mean, a long list of things right now with regards to EVs overall. And I'm not saying EVs are bad or wrong or they should go away. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it's a challenging space right now because of the cost of production, because of how expensive it is, not only to get them out the door, but then to get them distributed to the buyers themselves. It's a very, very challenging space right now. It's going to be interesting to see. I know I say this all the time. It's one of the ways in which I think 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now, what does the whole EV car business look like? Because it wasn't all that long ago. I sat in some of these meetings. It wasn't all that long ago that there were companies like Volvo, there were companies like Ford and General Motors who were saying things like 30, 50, 75% of their production in the next 5 years would be EV. You can go check me on that. I mean, it's absolutely out there from the companies themselves that have made those kinds of declarations. And to a company, I can't find anybody who's still on that trajectory, not even close. So it's very, very interesting when you're looking at it just in terms of, again, we the consumer. There was a huge push for EVs there for a while. That's backed off some. Does that mean that EVs are going away? I don't think so. I don't see anything like that that's sitting out there. Does the infrastructure need to expand in order for them to be, say, more palatable to a wider swath of the market? Probably. That's probably what needs to happen here. But it's going to be interesting to watch it and to see, what that market looks like in an ongoing kind of way. Because, again, with the expense involved, and obviously then you have internal combustion engines, more, let's call them traditional cars that are sitting out there as well. Does that impact their sales? Do they pull back in terms of their manufacturing or in terms of the buying public as well? It's expensive to buy a car. I don't need to tell you that if you've been out there in the car market here recently. Well, friends, thank you so much for hanging with us here on this week's version of Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. Tune back in with us next week, Thursdays at 4 p.m. here on WSIC.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville.